No, it's been a minute. We're going to dive into an oldie but a goodie today because I want to get back in the rhythm of being on YouTube. I've been posting shorts, but it's been a minute since I posted a long form video. And today we're going to be diving into my updated Notion and Google Calendar weekly reset, how I plan for the week. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you know me at all, you know that I am somebody who does weekly reviews every single week. But I'm constantly iterating and evolving the process. And actually, just because I always feel like it looks better on YouTube videos, let's switch this baby up into light mode. But I'm always refining and kind of iterating my process. So the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go in to my weekly reviews and the week that I just reviewed. So my weekly review process always starts with a review. And recently my review has made up of some personal check-ins before I do some business check-ins. I am full-time in my business, so I'm still working part-time in my other job. The last time I did a video like this was actually really fun to do a side-by-side comparison because the last time I did this was 2 years ago. I was working full-time in my day job. I think I was still a manager. So I managed a 23-person team. Like my calendar was chaos back when I did this 2 years ago, but it's a little bit more chill now. But so the things that I review then are a little bit different. And the first thing I've been doing, because I've been really trying to kind of dial back into kind of my health, is I check into my weight. And I check into my kind of self-care challenges. So I've been doing some habit tracking. You can actually see my habit tracker over here. By far my favorite habit tracker that I have ever used, bar none. It's so easy to track. And I really, really love I'm a fan of Notion charts, and I really integrated them a lot when it comes to habit tracking. Probably the first time since I have started tracking my habits in Notion that I haven't felt the need to change. And one of the things that I do inside of this, so I've got kind of my habit tracker down here where I can see the last time I've logged it, my progress, but I also have kind of, just to try to gamify some of the lifestyle changes I've been trying to make, I've associated a point value with all of my different habits in terms of like how important they are to me. And so part of what I'm tracking is my points over time, the points per week, and then I have kind of some point goals I'm trying to hit each week. So when I check into my week, I'm checking into my weight and I'm checking into these goals. I'll tell you right now, it's been a little bit of a struggle ever since getting back from vacation at the beginning of June, but we're trying to get back into it. So I check in on all of these goals, and then I really have a kind of raw and real reflection on how are things going. There were actually a lot of things that I'm really proud of how they're going. I also have those recommended point goals down here because I try to reward myself in some ways if things are going well. I have kind of some levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I'm really contemplating taking out the beginner because I think it makes it a little too easy for me to like phone in those lifestyle changes. So yeah, TBD on that one. But that's the first thing I do. And then the next thing I go ahead and do is I do a what worked, what didn't work, and what can I improve. If you are an OG on this channel, which y'all are so patient with me, I appreciate you so much. Because if you're an OG on this channel, you have gone through some ups and downs of how consistently Ellen posts. I'm sorry, okay? And here's kind of my little real talk moment for a hot second here. I actually really love YouTube. I have always felt like the ROI on YouTube is better. I really like doing video. I love the asynchronous of it. But there is something about like the Instagrams and the LinkedIns and the TikToks and whatnot that if you're not posting consistently, it literally gets in your head and makes you start to feel like you're not relevant. So I always have felt pulled back to Instagram and felt pulled back to LinkedIn, when the fact of the matter is I love the style of posting on YouTube way more. I love that I can just take my time, make a solid piece of content. Also, I'm cracking up. You guys can literally see I've been putting peel and stick tiles in my kitchen, and clearly this is where it ends. My eyes just went to that because it's like right by the camera. But anyways, I feel like I've always felt the compulsion to go back to like the Instagrams and the LinkedIns and the TikToks, but I also just don't like that content hamster wheel. So I have my entire YouTube content calendar mapped out literally until March 2026. I'm getting back on the YouTube wagon, god damn it, and I mean it this time. Like I mean it this time. But anyways, back to this check-in here. So if you're an OG on the channel, you know that I've been doing these 3 questions basically the entirety of my YouTube channel, and I've really been asking myself these 3 questions for probably 10 years. It's been a really long time that I've been using these 3 questions. The fact of the matter is, I was surprised this week by the sheer number of things that I felt like were working. The thing that's not working are definitely things that are like big things, like I'm really not moving enough. But I do feel like I'm trending in the right direction with a lot of these other habits. Walking in the evening, I've been drinking a ton of water. I just got a hydro jug, highly recommend. I have a Stanley that I got for free, and I have a Simple Modern that I got at Target. This baby doesn't leak, and I've done this before, so I know it's gonna work. Zero leakage. And I love having a handle like this because I'm the kind of person that I want to be able to carry my water bottle with like fingers. So I've been drinking a shit ton of water. I've been eating way better. My morning routines are not great, but they're trending in the right direction. So I check in on kind of all of these very lifestyle related things. I try to keep it very personal on this because I have a whole business reflection that I do later. And then I check in with memories. I'll be completely honest, there's not a lot that's been going down this week. I had a crazy first 2 weeks of June of travel, and then life hasn't been very sexy since then. So not a whole hell of a lot in the way of memories. So I could probably work harder to come up with those. And then I veer into my business reflection. And then when I do my business reflection, I have, as I said, I really love Notion charts, and I try to bring in a lot of different pieces of information. So I have my clients by service, clients by status, and then sales by month and sales by product. So I can keep track of which things are serving me really well. And these are sales by month, and then sales by product are for the last month or so. So I can see like my mindset in my business, how my schedule was in my business, because part of the reason why I do systems is because my primary thing is burnout and stress management. And I know how important systems are, especially for solopreneurs when it comes to burnout and stress management. And the fact of the matter is, it is really easy for me to fall back into overwork and fall back into working from like the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. So I really have to kind of gut check myself every week. So that's part of the reason why this is built into my check-in. And then how did I feel about things in my business? And then I do a brain dump, which I did this yesterday. If I were to show you, this is a brain dump that it's set to show things that were created today. I did this review yesterday, so it's not showing any things in the brain dump. Let me show you how many things were in this brain dump. These are the sheer number of tasks that were created, scheduled yesterday. I did a lot of planning yesterday, but I did a shit ton of planning yesterday as a result of this brain dump. And that's actually the part I'm gonna go ahead and show you now. So I brain dump, I might kind of roughly schedule things out. And then I have a little button for me to click when this is completed, and it goes ahead and it sets the status for the week to be completed. And then we pop over to the next week. So the next week here, the very top of this next week is to plan. I set a goal, what's my focus for the week? And you can see this one is to get back on track with YouTube and get the foundation set up for an upcoming podcast summit. If you are a podcaster or somebody who is interested in podcast guesting, I am having a podcast summit inside of my podcast hub, which is a $5 a month service to sign up, get podcast support from tech support to system support, and also, meet other podcasters, other people who are looking for guesting opportunities. So if you are looking for a line guest and you hate going to dead Facebook groups, which is literally why we created this, Podcast Summit is coming up at the end of July. I'll go ahead and put the link to join my list and join my community. Those will be the first people to know when all of the registration stuff goes live. We literally came up with the idea last week, so it's not live yet. But I set my focus for the week, and then I kind of go through these 3 steps. I plan out this week's white space, aka make sure I actually have white space in my calendar. I update kind of my to-dos for the day, and then I schedule out the networking events and writing blocks. I will say this networking events and writing blocks one I should probably take out because those are just recurring things in my calendar at this point. And then planning this week's white space and updating I wouldn't say this is daily focuses. I would say updating daily to-dos and my current task list. So actually I should probably update these in my template. But then I toggle open this organized daily to-dos. And this is the part of the process where Google Calendar kind of comes into play. Okay, if my view looks a little bit different, it's because I realized I probably should have done this on Chrome to begin with so I could show you my calendar. But this is the part of the process, as I said, where I start to bring in my calendar. So you can see I've got some things that are to-dos. I'm recording this on Saturday the 28th, but you can see I've kind of got my to-dos in my Notion system here. I'm gonna go ahead and toggle over to next week so that I can see the to-dos that I have on next week relative to my schedule. So you can see when you look at this, I have a shit ton of to-dos on Monday. And that is actually intentional because Monday is what I call my CEO day in my calendar. And it is the day that is completely free and it is my get shit done day. If we go over to my Google Calendar, you will see there is literally nothing on my schedule on Monday. This is something it took me a really long time to engineer into how I built out my schedule and how I built out my calendar to have Mondays be empty. Mondays and Fridays generally are pretty empty, though Friday will occasionally have some calls on it. Monday though, it's my meetingless Monday, which I love because it's like a play off of meatless Monday. I have nothing on my calendar on Monday. So this is my get shit done day. And though this might be a little bit over ambitious, I will fully admit that. I don't ever approach my to-do list as the things that I have to get done on that day. I usually approach it more as these are potential ways I could be spending my time. So that's the difference. Not a have to be doing these things, but a could be doing these things. So I have a really long to-do list on Monday, but I only have one thing on Tuesday to follow up with a potential client. And that is because Tuesday is very full and Tuesdays tend to be very full in my calendar. I have a lot of client appointments. I have a lot of students that I work with. So that is a very, very full day in my calendar. Wednesday is a little bit lighter. So I have a little bit more on Wednesday, just really some follow-ups because Wednesday is also my kind of client and conversion day in my calendar. I'm going to do a video a little bit later on kind of my themed days and why I love them so much. So that's Wednesday, and I have a little bit more free time in my calendar on Wednesday. And then I have some free time in my calendar on Thursday. So I have a few more things on my calendar on Thursday. And some of them are just like general things like pay Chase card, and I had a pay rent one over here. Now, the one thing I'm really realizing I need to make sure I do is next Friday is 4th of July here in the States. And I literally have no plans on 4th of July except to go down to, we have a awesome full day thing of, you know, food trucks, live music, beer garden. I go like every year, even if I'm going by myself, because it's so fun. And it's just, we usually have great weather for it too. And it starts at noon and it goes until 10:30 after they do fireworks. And why I scheduled things on 4th of July is beyond me. So this is why I do this, is I can gut check the things that I have on my to-do list against what my calendar actually looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move a lot of these things off of my calendar. We're going to go ahead and put, the only thing I might leave there is I need to add the next pods to my arrow garden. I have a hydroponic arrow garden. It's a really bright light back there. And to make sure things seed the way they should, and to make sure things like don't grow too quickly so the other things don't get light, I kind of put them in at various different times. So the ones that take like 3 weeks to seed, they go in first. It's a whole thing. Comment below if you want me to tell you more about my arrow garden. I kind of love it because I live in a studio with no outdoor space, but I'll leave that. I need to, these are all kind of lingering to-dos about a retreat that I went to. And you know what? Honestly, a lot of them could probably be moved to the following week. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move them to Sunday the 7th. And what is this one? Oh, this is easy for me to do on probably Thursday. So now the only thing on my to-do list then for Friday is to add the pods to the arrow garden. And that's exactly how I want it. So the last thing I will say about this, and the last thing I will say about the Google Calendar, and part of the reason why I kind of have this hybrid approach where I'm comparing everything to the Google Calendar is, here's the rub. I'm a big believer in master calendars because I think it's really easy to convince ourselves that we have more time than we think we do if we're only looking at the personal side of our lives or the professional side of our lives or, you know, the social side of our lives. It's really easy to think that we have more capacity than we actually do. But the fact of the matter is your life is not compartmentalized like that. Your life is all of these things layered and stacked on top of each other. So seeing everything in my Google Calendar and seeing how many students I have and seeing how many to-dos I have, which I'm not a big time blocker. I don't like layering all of my tasks onto my calendar because that feels overwhelming to me. But seeing the things that I have on my to-do list and how they stack up against the things on my calendar, it gives me a visual of the time commitment and the number of things that I have on my plate. And I'm a very visual human. So being able to see that, being able to see the big blank space on Monday on my calendar and know that, okay, I have plenty of time on Monday to power through as many of those tasks and to-dos as I can is really, really valuable to me. And it's something that I highly recommend doing. I've kind of rearranged all of my to-dos. And then once I do that, I just click this button and it changes it to plan. So I know that I am ready and raring to go for the week. So that is it. That is how I plan in Notion and Google Calendar, my weekly reset of sorts. If you're liking any of these templates, you can head to the link down below in the description for all of my templates. I am actually launching something right now that is called the Systems Vault. It is a one-time fee, a one-stop shop for access to all of my Notion templates, all of my ManyChat templates, Zapier templates, basically any system you need, especially if you are a solopreneur. So that is definitely something that's coming up. So if you are in the market for tons of new systems in your business or in your life, that might be something worth checking out. But let me know if there's anything in the comments that you'd like me to dive a little bit more with you. And guys, I mean it this time when I say, I'm gonna be back here. I'm gonna be back here next week. We're just gonna say it. I'm gonna be back here next week. And if I'm not, I suck. With that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next week, guys. Bye.